Coming off of last night's Extreme Rules pay-per-view, let's do a WWE video. I found this from the Sportster. I immediately subscribed to them and downloaded this video, and I had to do this. The 10 WWE behind-the-scenes stories you've never heard of. So let's see if this is true, if it's the stories that we haven't heard of, or there's some that we have heard of. Can't wait to see this.
As intriguing as some pro wrestling storylines can be, what happens behind closed doors is perhaps even more intriguing. While some stories are pretty well known, like the Montreal Screwjob, there are others which haven't been given as much spotlight. And that's where we come in. Here are 10 wrestling backstage stories you've never heard of. Spoiler alert, there will be a quiz question later on in the video, so you marks better get your pencils out after the 5th entry. Before we finally get rolling, don't forget to super kick that subscribe button and join our new stable, the Notification Squad. X-Pac's eyebrows. Sean Waltman is known for his own share of pranks. Some of them are righteous, like his cutting of Michael Hayes' ponytail on the infamous plane ride from hell, and others are mean-spirited, like the one where he defecated into Sable's travel bag. While Waltman is the prankster in many of the stories involving him, there is a story where he is the prankee. Not many people get to celebrate their 21st birthdays as members of the WWE roster, but that's exactly what X-Pac did. After a night of partying with friends the Smoking Guns and Kurt Hennig, Waltman of course passed out. While asleep, his friend shaved off one of his eyebrows. Naturally, the wheel spun in Waltman's mind, and he decided that no eyebrows were better than one, and shaved off his remaining brow. Things got worse for Waltman, as not only did he have to appear on TV like that, but WWE had photo shoots the next day. Enjoy your eyebrowless 8x10s, X-Pac. Seeing as how this was the mid-90s, we're surprised Vince McMahon didn't decide to recast X-Pac with a new gimmick as an eyebrowless alien. Hearts on a plane. The tragic death of Owen Hart remains one of the darkest moments in pro wrestling history. You'd never hear anyone say a bad word about the guy, which is incredible in a way considering all of the pranks he's committed on his fellow wrestlers throughout the years. Unlike guys like Mr. Fuji, whose pranks were borderline criminal acts, Hart's were always great fun. Case in point, while on the plane with his brother Brett and brother-in-law Davey Boy Smith, the Hart brothers saw time to strike. While Owen and Brett had first-class tickets, Smith was stuck in coach. So when a flight attendant asked them if they wanted Smith to come up, Owen acted like he didn't even know who he was. He then explained to the flight attendant that Smith was actually a wannabe wrestler who hounded Brett and himself endlessly about how to break into the business. And unfortunately, he just wasn't good enough. Well, being a tad merciful, Owen let the steward bring Smith up for a little bit, only for Owen to signal the stewardess to send him away after only 10 minutes. Another flawless performance from the King of Ribs. The Heartbreak Addict. It's no secret that Shawn Michaels wasn't exactly in tip-top shape throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. One particular night of infamy, though, was a Monday where HBK met with Chris Jericho backstage. On this night, Jericho was decked out in Doink the Clown makeup as part of a segment where he would ambush IC champ William Regal. Michaels, though, was either high or drunk and asked Jericho why Vince McMahon gave him the clown gimmick. Jericho then tried to reason with the inebriated Michaels, but nothing worked and HBK walked off confused and upset. Later on in the night, Michaels would pass out in McMahon's office and was finally fired. Obviously, Michaels was not in his right state of mind, but we gotta disagree with him. Y2J could have probably pulled off the Doink gimmick anyway. I mean, heck, if Jericho can get a freaking clipboard over in 2017, we don't put anything past them. Jericho, if you're somehow watching this, please consider this for your next return to WWE. Consider it, man.
When they bought WCW.
Ultimate discipline. So we think it's fairly uncontroversial to say that the Ultimate Warrior was certifiably crazy, right? We mean, look at the guy. He's chiseled out of stone, he has face paint on, and is almost always making an angry face. There are tons of stories over the years detailing Warrior's general douchebaggery to fans, his fellow wrestlers, and pretty much everyone around him. Almost makes you wonder why the heck WWE decided to name an award after him, right? Anyway, while there are plenty of stories detailing Warrior's reckless decisions, here's a harmless but nonetheless bizarre one. Obviously, when you look at Warrior, you must think that he follows a strict diet of steak and horse testicles. It was so crazy that rather than enjoy a cookie, Warrior would instead crush it, sniff it, and then throw away the crumbs. While we could make a joke here, we're more sad about all the cookies that went to waste just because apparently Warrior's kryptonite are carbohydrates. And I mean, come on, with all the snorting going around the WWE locker room in the 1980s, we're surprised the Warrior didn't inhale it outright, to be honest. Owen Hart strikes again.
Uh-oh.
There are so many Owen Hart ribbing stories that we've lost count.
Yeah.
Perhaps that would make for a good video. Anyway, this one in particular is noteworthy because the target of this rib is none other than the big kahuna himself, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. While doing something like this nowadays to McMahon would likely be career suicide, the mid-90s were a much looser time for things like this. At In Your House 5, Triple H and Henry Godwinn faced off in a hog pen match. This match, of course, required the services of several farm pigs. As the truck driver responsible for dropping off the animals came backstage, Owen Hart was quick to greet him. The driver needed a place to deliver the animals, and Hart was more than happy to show him McMahon's office. Hart, in perhaps the bravest thing anyone's ever done in wrestling history, put tons of pigs in the boss's prestigious office. It takes incredible charm, skill, and courage to pull this off without getting fired. Thankfully, Owen Hart was full of all three. Alrighty, it's time for our quiz question. In 2003, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle engaged in a backstage fight for the ages. The two squared off in the ring in an amateur wrestling match. Who won the fight between the two? Stay tuned for the answer at the end of the video. How to scare a dead man. In their WrestleMania 31 feud, Bray Wyatt went on and on about being the new face of fear in the WWE. He rambled on, as Wyatt tends to do, about how Undertaker's time was over and he was going to kick his ass, blah blah blah. Little did Wyatt know that if he really wanted to bring the dead man to his knees, all he had to do was go to the local farmer's market. According to his deceased former manager Paul Bearer, The Undertaker has a morbid fear of one particular vegetable, the dreaded cucumber. Dum dum dum! Wait, how the heck did this happen? Well, it stems back from a vague incident in Taker's childhood. Maybe he was at a funeral home and saw a cucumber sticking out of a casket or something, we don't know. Don't think for a second that other wrestlers were going to let this go. Owen Hart, yeah, him again, once cut up a cucumber, put it in his trunks, and during a match stuffed them into Taker's face. Well, of course, Taker bolted out of the ring to get away from the frightening seeded plant. No, Owen, you lovable little nugget of joy. Don't fight Kurt Angle. There's a lot of things that we would be willing to try. Competing on Fear Factor, spending an afternoon with the in-laws, but fighting Kurt Angle would be nowhere on that list. But hey, don't let us stop you, Mr. Guerrero, if that's what you want to do. In 2004, Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle were locked in a feud which started in March and stretched through the entire summer. You would think it's impossible for these two to have a bad match, but that wasn't the case. Guerrero's health was not in the best shape at this point, and some nights it affected his ring work. After one bad night where he felt that Angle's partners Mark Jindrak and Luther Reigns were too rough, Guerrero let his anger out on Angle. We say that with an asterisk, as instead of making it a fistfight, Guerrero instead decided to shoot for a double leg on an Olympic gold medalist. Obviously that didn't work out, and the fight was broken up quickly. When cooling down on a bench, JBL asked Guerrero why he would double leg Kurt Angle, to which Latino Heat replied, "Because I'm stupid." Well, we can't argue with you that time, Eddie. Choking out an Olympic hero. Kurt Angle has recently returned to the WWE, and it should be easy to see why. Vince McMahon clearly wants an excuse to take down the Olympic gold medalist again. Say what? Yeah, believe it or not, Vince McMahon can honestly say that he took down Kurt Angle. Sure, it only happened because McMahon took him from behind, but who cares, am I right? The boss certainly didn't, as he reminded Angle of his victory every chance he could get. Angle even at one point had enough and decided to tussle with McMahon for revenge. All of this was in good fun, of course, but someone didn't alert the locker room leader of the shenanigans. That leader, of course, being the 7-foot-tall, 300-pound Undertaker. As Angle and McMahon's scuffle woke up a sleeping dead man on a plane, Taker leapt up and choked Angle until he passed out. Once he was informed about the story, and once Angle woke up, Taker apologized. Funny enough, Angle would get his kayfabe revenge years later as he made Undertaker tap out to a triangle choke on an episode of SmackDown in 2002. Psycho Squirrel. There are some people in the wrestling business that take their gimmicks a little too seriously. This was particularly true in the 90s when kayfabe was still very much alive and wrestlers took it uber seriously. With that in mind, we still don't think that this justifies what Psycho Sid did here. For some ungodly reason, there was a point where Sid got a kick out of keeping a pet squirrel with him on the road. Maybe he was auditioning to be Squirrel Girl's boyfriend, who knows? While wrestlers being eternally bored while on the road, one of them had a crazy idea. Somebody dared him to shove the furry rodent down his pants for a full minute. Well, for the first 30 seconds, it would seem that everything was relatively okay, until it went tremendously wrong. The squirrel, obviously feeling excited by the fantasy of nuts, chomped down on the ones it saw.
Oh,
Sid would require immediate medical assistance and was off to the hospital. Any chance we hear this story when he does his eventual Hall of Fame speech? Please, fans in the stands, don't let us down. Harlem Heat stinks up the joint. Ah, shucky ducky quack quack. What is that smell, Booker? Is that you? Come on, man. While he may be known to newer fans as a solo act, or as the guy who says quack a lot on commentary, Booker T was originally a tag team wrestler with his brother Stevie Ray. They may have been successful and were one of WCW's few homebrewed successes, but wow were they lazy. Not in the ring, mind you, but outside of the ring was a different story. The story goes that during their time in WCW, Heat's opponents would complain that they smelled awful in the ring. Their hapless foes assumed that the brothers were doing it as a prank, but the reason was unveiled once manager Sherry Martel did some research. Turns out they only brought one pair of tights with them on the road, and never washed them. Martel did the only sensible thing and then started washing their tights behind their back. She may have been portrayed as a she-devil to fans over the years, but to the boys in the back, Sherry Martel may as well have been a saint. And you've been patient long enough. So, who is the winner of the fight between these athletic freaks? Kurt Angle. Yeah, despite giving up 70 pounds to the mammoth Lesnar, Angle's technique was just enough to edge Lesnar after a 15-minute match. He scored one takedown, and that was the end of it. And that's it for our list. What's your favorite story from our 10? The wrestling business is an infinite well of insane stories and tall tales that can go on forever. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Sportster for more awesome content. See ya!
yeah, there's two of them I know about. There was the Vince McMahon Kurt Angle shoot, and then the subsequent Undertaker choking out Angle, and then of course there was the Angle Guerrero incident in backstage as well. Yeah, but and you know, I've been listening to the Jim Cornette Talking Census here on YouTube as of late, and the one thing, you know, Jim Cornette has always said that, you know, he's kind of upset that kayfabe has died, and on one hand, I can maybe see why he's upset at that, because, you know, then we get to things where you know, like last night at Extreme Rules, we get any time Roman Reigns, the face, you know, the good guy, the number one baby face, anytime something gets hit by one of the good guys, Rollins or Balor, or one of the bad guys, Wyatt or Samoa Joe, every time he gets something done, a move done to him, or he gets hit or something, there's an audible, loud cheer, and his music hits, and he gets booed, and it's sickening. It's very sickening, because at this point, it really is just, there's no reason to do it. There's no reason to do it, and the only reason they're doing it is because that's what you know, the office, the creative ones, they want, you know, Roman Reigns, because he's not bad in the ring at all. People say he's bad in the ring is stupid. He's not bad in the ring. His character or his things like that. Maybe at the beginning he was, you know, maybe he was a bit rough or stiff. Last 6 months, he's been great as a character. I'm the big dog, and this is my yard, and everything, and so he's been perfect, exactly who he is. And so to think that his character is bad is ridiculous, or something like that. So whatever, you know, right now the people who are booing him are just being, you know, this is still a side effect of, you know, them wanting Daniel Bryan to be the guy over Roman Reigns or John Cena or anybody else. So it's just ridiculous, and you know, so that's why on one hand I agree with him, but on the other hand, I think this is the reason why it's good to have kayfabe kind of gone because we get those type of stories. Those stories come out and they're told on the videos and they're told on Twitter and YouTube. Shoot interviews and things like that, and they're awesome. And I think that's what makes it makes the wrestling business great. I'll put it to you like this. I'm not into. There are two times I get into magic. One is when David Blaine has some type of TV show because his dumbass is gonna do something stupid, like try to catch a bullet in his mouth, lock himself in a block of ice. And two was when they do those specials of when they show me how the magic trick is done. So and I'm not saying that I'm just interested in pro wrestling because things like that. Not. But that's like I say, I get more interested in magic when it's like that. So you get more interested in wrestling when you know about some of the things and something like that. It's just, but I do see why Jim Cornette and some other guys would say that exposing the business was the worst thing for the business because you get things like that and and everything else. So, all right, but post your comments down below. Tell me what you thought. Are there any other stories that you think will maybe better than those, or that need to be told more often, or anything like that? Please post them down in the comment section. Please like the video, share the video, and make sure if you haven't already subscribe. And if you are a gamer, go over to subscribe to A20 Gaming as well. So that is it for me right now. This is your boy AJ Tripp signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.